Welcome to the CCC News podcast. Today we are welcoming Colleen Worrell, a licensed professional counselor who works here out of the building here at 409 Lincoln. For the podcast this month, we're talking a lot about mental health. And as we were discussing before we came on, mental health is something we should probably keep top of mind all year round, not just the month of May. So here's an extra bonus edition to maybe help folks out. We've got kind of a fun list of items to kind of talk about, but it's mostly about those inner thoughts and how they kind of drive behavior and that kind of thing. But first, let's a quick introduction of Colleen here. Colleen has been a licensed professional counselor in Oregon and Washington for the past 12 years. She's also a nationally certified counselor. And fun fact, grew up over on the coast, worked at Moe's in Taft, which great place. I spent many a vacation there and taken the family there, and moved to the Dalles in 1983. You said you were known as a singing waitress. Is that right?
Yeah, I was. I used to do a few singing telegrams. Well, not exactly telegrams. In the restaurant, it was a quick happy birthday or, today is so-and-so's birthday and he is really glad because even though he's getting old, he doesn't look too bad. Things like that.
That's so appropriate. You don't know. That's awesome. Yeah. When you landed here in 83, you said that was working at the Copper Kitchen, which eventually became Cousins. And all that. So like a great standing in the community. Yeah. You know a lot about the Dalles, been here a long time. But thank you so much for coming today. And talking about a very important issue, one that all of us deal with. It could be, just those small voices that kind of crop up in the middle of the day, or maybe, you wake up every night at 3:20 like me with a series of thoughts that you got to kind of work through and either discount or say, no, that's valid, or yeah. So to tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, first of all, you have to remember that therapists don't fix you.
Okay.
I mean, I talk a little bit more than the average therapist just because I'm a extrovert and I can't help it. I want you to know all the things,
Yeah.
But I also usually go over time a little bit because I know that, people need to talk also. And one of the things that struck me about the whole idea of counseling was reading a book by a fellow named Mustakis. And he was one of the first people who studied and practiced and then wrote about counseling children.
Okay.
And he has a really good... So he gives the definition of the word therapy. And, we all have little children running around inside of us, right? That's that also drives some of the impulses that we have. So he said, the word therapy has no verb in English, for which I'm grateful. It cannot do anything to anybody. Hence, it represents a process going on, observed perhaps, assisted perhaps, but not applied. Therapy comes from the Greek noun for servant, and the verb is to wait. And so, it's good to know that it's kind of like handing someone a bowl of chicken soup.
Okay.
And I think he says this later in the book. And you offer it to them, and they can take it or not. And if it's not the kind of soup they like, then you can give them a different kind of soup.
Okay.
And they eventually taste it, and maybe they like it, and maybe they don't. And so you just have to keep working to find the thing that works for each person.
Right.
And so like the bare bones of counseling is at first figuring out what the person really needs or wants.
Yes. And
you try to meet them where they are. Don't push too hard, but don't not push at all. And the whole thing with, so just to switch gears a little bit, it's all based on brain science and, of course, studies where, therapists have worked with people for a long time now. But counseling's relatively new, like the early 60s.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it was not really a profession.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's only 65 years.
It's not that long.
It's pretty new. It's fresh.
So, social work came in ahead.
Yeah.
And then came counseling, like in schools and stuff. And that's where it first began.
Yeah.
So, the whole thing of counseling that later we've learned about the brain and what the brain does. And the brain is like your control center. Yeah. And so however you have trained your brain to think, whatever you have trained it to think is like normal, the brain takes it very seriously. And so if it's toxic or even a little off, it doesn't matter. The brain doesn't care. It's going to keep the system alive. To the brain, it is a matter of life and death.
Okay.
And so when you have a thought,
right,
and it goes a certain direction, say you like to go down that rabbit hole of all the, oh my goodness, and the shoulds and oughts and what could happen and future tripping and all that stuff, that's what your brain thinks is good.
Okay.
And so when you try to stop doing that, your brain goes, oh my gosh, the system is going to die. Stop it. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. It's not good. It really thinks that, it's going to upset everything.
Right.
And so, the brain and the mind are two different things, although some people will still argue that, but it is true. We are really people with souls and minds and stuff like that. So, one analogy, and then you can ask me a question about all of it. Okay, so the brain thing. Yes. It's like think of the brain as a meadow full of grass and wildflowers all grown up, except for this path where the cattle go.
Okay.
And anybody or sheep or whatever, everybody knows that they always go on the same path. They'll fight to get on the same path, just like the brain says, nope, you're not getting off the damn path. We're doing this,
Yeah.
And so, the path is there. It's, what paths look like when cattle or
absolutely
all beat down and muddy and kind of, Yeah. So then there's the rest of all of this. Well, when you try to change your thought process, that path, and get those cattle, your thoughts, to go down a different route, it's messy.
Yeah.
Because they got to beat all that grass and all those wildflowers down, and they keep wanting to go back over here. I kept sheep.
Right.
It's amazing how, not anymore.
Over that one.
I got over that. But they keep wanting to go back over to the other thing. Right. And you have to keep, as the shepherd.
Yeah.
Or whatever, the rancher.
Right.
You are going to want them to go over to the new path.
Right.
You don't want them to walk on that one anymore. So you're constantly having to either lure or prompt them to get back over until that gets beat down more. And the one on the other side grows up. Yeah. And isn't as convenient as the new one, right?
Yeah.
So, which dog are you going to feed? And there's all kinds of different analogies that you can put on it. Yeah. That's the challenge of changing the way you think.
Right.
So that's kind of like out there a little bit, but it makes good sense to me. Yeah.
So my first question is, and this is one that comes up, it's the problem of being satisfied, with good versus, perfection. I feel like throughout my entire life, the things that get noticed typically are criticisms, or you may have done something very well, 99%, but you missed on 1%. And, but that's the part that gets the attention. Now, that's great in corrections and doing better for the next time, but it doesn't leave you much sense of satisfaction, even though you have worked pretty darn hard to get things as much right as you possibly could, given the situation. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so how do you, because that's not a very forgiving pattern of thought.
So are you talking about you jump on the 1% or somebody else does?
Both.
Okay.
Because you can have it both ways on that one, unfortunately.
You do. And a secret trick is that number one, if you are the one jumping on the 1%, get over yourself. I would never say that to a client.
It's fine.
You can, but it's true. You have to kind of go, wow, look what I did. Yeah. Look what I have done. And there's this bit. Well, that's normal. Let's just think about how we're going to do different next time.
Right.
And so that's a personal thing that you need to overcome for yourself. And but the other one where someone else is jumping on your 1%, I would say to you that person is threatened by your 99%, and they have to pick out that 1%.
Yeah.
Or they're your instructor,
Yeah.
and they're saying, "Hey, you did really good here.
Right.
This thing needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
Let's start there." And but wow. You've come. That's how it ought to be. Often it's not like that. Often it's that.
not.
Yeah.
And so in my experience, that took me a long time to figure out. But I used to take those words of criticism very, very seriously, because that was like, as you talked about, that pathway. Like my brain just, walked down that path. Okay, I did not live up to the standard, and it's not good enough. And so there was all this self, deprecation and kind of thing going on. But what I've learned over time is you got to look at how the criticism is given, and whether it's constructive or not, or if it's kind of, has a anger or another part to it that's not necessarily something you should have to accept. And, kind of dividing, kind of like, okay, yeah, there's a point here, but also there's some information here that is not benefiting me, is not going to help me get better. It's actually going to take my energy and reduce my ability to be efficient and good at what I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and a good leader will not let you go there. They'll, but that doesn't mean that you won't. It just means that they're going to give you some encouragement.
Yeah.
A not so great leader will just I don't think they really have a clue sometimes. Leadership is not always something that's given to someone, a position that's given to someone because they are a good leader.
Right.
It's given to them because in the massive corporation, somebody needs to take the job and do the scheduling or whatever it is they do, and then they don't know how to manage people in a way that will make them want to work for you.
Right.
Choirs. There were 2 choir directors I've had 3, 4. Everyone that I've had has been the kind that you wanted to do better.
Yes.
Because they were so good. And not just good at what they did, but good because they were like encouraging and, oh, yeah, that's great. No, not that. Here, do this. That kind of thing. So I think we have a real absence of good leadership all the way around, not just in the Dalles, but like sort of it's like all over, I think.
Yeah.
And we see on TV all the time that people make one mistake and they get fired.
Yeah.
Get rid, especially, well, we're not going to talk about government, but especially in things that are like kind of high profile like that. So the expectation is very high. You can see my hands. Okay, good. So here's normal.
Right.
This is like average. And these are our expectations of ourselves and other people, say.
Yes.
That's a lot of room for messed up feelings, right?
Yeah.
Because that's it. All of your anxiety about almost everything lies between what is and what is way too high up the scale.
Yeah.
You don't want to stay here.
No.
Right? Because there's always a place to go. We're human beings. We always have room for improvement.
Yes.
So you got to set your expectations closer to the normal bar.
Right.
And then that way, when you achieve that, you're like, it might be a struggle, but you did it.
Right.
And this is the same for someone that's a leader. You got this person here, and maybe they're a really good person, but they struggle in a certain area. For myself, it's written word and procrastination. I'm good at writing.
Great.
But I don't want to start. Because I can't quit.
Right.
When I was in school, I had a thing. It was like a page an hour. That was my, even though, and that included everything. So I started with all the front matter and all the back matter, and then I would write. And I could not do it week to week. It always happened in the last,
We share that.
Yeah. And I planned for a day where I could
Yep.
proofread it, but that day never did appear. And I wrote lots of papers.
Yeah. Oh, my
I
goodness.
get really good grades in my writing. So, see, I was allowed to do that.
Yeah.
But still, if I worked a job where I worked for somebody else, that would be a problem.
Yeah.
I have to get my notes done. I hate doing notes.
Yeah.
I've got it all up here. Why should I have to write down the stupid notes?
Yeah.
Blah, 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 anyway. Yeah. So I think just really in ourselves, we have to learn the line
Yes.
between our wanting to please, because I'm a pleaser,
Okay.
and the other person's ability to accept a normal
Growth level
growth
or
level
goal.
in you.
Yeah.
Right. And if there's problems, instead of like squashing you down to go, hey, we need to work on this thing. You're so great at everything else.
Yeah.
Then let's work on this bit here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of just going, you're fired, you piece of you know what.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always achievable goals. That's a great one. Well, what a great place to just take a quick break. We'll come back. I kind of had some questions about self-care.
Good.
Maybe eating, drinking, those kinds of things. And of course, Josh, who's over here in the studio, he may have a question or two. We'll hit you with. But let's go take a break and we'll come right back.
Okay. Thanks, Tom.
Hey friend, if you're having a tough time right now, you're not alone. Whether you're dealing with stress, mental health challenges, emotional pain, or concerns about alcohol or drug use, there's someone here ready to listen. Just dial or text 988 anytime, day or night. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is here for you 24/7, 365 days a year. It's free, it's confidential, and it's available to anyone. Yes, even if you're reaching out for someone else. The counsellors in 988 are trained, caring, and judgment-free. They're ready to talk, to listen, and to help you or someone you care about get through a difficult moment. You matter, your story matters, and help is just 3 numbers away. Call, text, or chat 988 anytime, anywhere.
All right, and we're back. So we're talking with Colleen Worrell, a licensed professional counselor here in Oregon and Washington. Offices here at 409 Lincoln Street. Thank you so much again for being here, Colleen. We were just talking about achievable goals in kind of redirecting our behavior, if you will. And I one of the things that, I'm 56 now, and one of the things that has obviously cropped up in my life is the idea of self-care. And I had very strange ideas about that growing up, that somehow you had to be tough, but that's really not how it works at all, is what I've kind of found, is that no, you need to wake up and give yourself room to either exercise or find that place to go think and have a quiet, moment to yourself for 15 minutes or something like that. But can you talk to us a little bit about that kind of those behaviors or those thoughts that might be preventing us from taking care of our own selves?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things is shame. And that kind of goes to that deeper level, right? Because shame is that kind of pervasive feeling, knowledge that there's something really wrong with me. I'm so bad that I'm not. Even if you succeed at most of the stuff you try, you can get yourself in that space.
Yes.
Or I don't want to start this because my head does not want to do that. Self-care is another part of redirecting your brain to get out of a rut and think a different way and move a different direction. Yeah. And so that's it. So it's going to be hard. Because I'm used to sitting in the corner of my couch. You can ask my husband. I do that really. I do that really well when I'm not at work. Yeah. And it used to be because I was a waitress in busy or server, in busy restaurants, and I ran my butt off for 6 to 8 to 10 hours a day.
Tough job.
And then I got home, and after dinner, it was like, and the older you get, the more tired you get, right?
Yeah.
So I just started, and then I went to school in my room, in my chair, with my computer in front of me for 9 years.
Right.
And so I was like sitting there doing stuff, but now I just sit there.
Yeah.
So it's changing, and we just started exercising, and I'm 67.
Good for you.
Yeah. Walt's
right.
74, my husband. 46 years we're going on. Whew.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah. Marriage is another one of those things that taxes your brain. And he will tell you that I tax his brain, I'm sure. I know he does mine. Yeah. Anyway, so it's all about, that whole, we have to make ourselves do it. And we kind of help remind each other. He'll be like, do you want to exercise now? And I'm like, oh, yeah. Not really, I don't want to, but yeah, we're going to. And we do like 10 minutes.
Yep.
And there are some old people exercises that you can do that like help your balance and all that stuff. ADD, ADHD, I'm one of those people. Exercise, aerobic exercise.
Yes.
And I, laid off on that for the last few years because of some circumstances that caused me to be depressed enough that, et cetera. So not to go off in that realm, but that's kind of what can happen. You know?
No, I experienced some of that through COVID.
Yeah.
And, it just less movement. Just kind of feeling like things were just on a downward trend generally. Just my overall vision of life was like, oh, things are just not going well. And it kind of affected me and prevented me from doing some of the things I'd like. I was kind of a runner before, or, hobbyist, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and things change as you get older.
Yes,
too, because you're
true.
maybe not as flexible as you used to be, or you've let things go a little bit and that kind of stuff. So again, it comes down to changing the direction of the way you think so that you can take another kind of action. And I'll tell you, I mean, I say these things and I know them, but that doesn't mean that I always practice them.
Right.
So, I'll think of something and I'll be like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to sing. Why don't I want to sing?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
I'm a pretty good singer. I mean, I'm not the best singer in the whole wide world, but, I learned a lot. And I've performed a lot.
But there's this idea in your head says, I don't want to sing.
There's a lack of confidence and really no place to do it this minute, kind of I could go make that, but I like to be home in the evenings.
Interesting, the barriers that we set up for ourselves.
Absolutely,
I forget what it is. There's a great saying by Richard Bach about setting your own limitations. Ask for your limitation, it is yours. Boom. I believe is what he said. So. I experienced the same kind of things, going kind of through some of the same motions you're talking about. Recently, I've kind of gotten a little bit better about being physically active and that kind of thing. But there's this sense of like, I don't know, just maybe mental exhaustion at the end of the day. And I'm just like, but if I do actually go and get some exercise, get the blood moving again, I feel way better than, But it's kind of that spiral, I guess, or that, those bad thoughts, driving a behavior that's also kind of becomes cyclical, maybe.
Yeah, down the rabbit hole, and then you're in the habit, and your brain goes, oh my gosh, don't change, because if you do, the whole thing, you're going to die. Yeah. And you don't hear the brain saying that, but the pull to do what it has habituated itself to do. Because that's the real name for it, it's life or death strong. And that's why it's hard to stop drinking alcohol, doing drugs, or to get up and do something that you want to do, because the brain is like, we need to do what we've always done. Because if you don't, we will die. So go get a drink, because we're dying without it.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay. I mean, anybody who's had any kind of an addiction.
Yeah. I've had them all.
Yeah, right. Yeah, been through them all.
Well, cigarettes and drinking anyway.
The things, drinking, smoking dope, and all those things that we all thought were so cool back in the day. I was a bad drinker, so I never had to worry about that. I hate throwing up, and I did, but so it wasn't worth it.
Right.
Anywho, so that just the whole. There are classes that are called mood and food or that kind of thing. And everything we eat and drink and the activities we do or don't do lend to our mental health.
Right.
So when you eat foods, you know, you don't have to eat like a vegan if you don't want to be a vegan, but,
Right.
you know, eat a lot of vegetables and fruits and eat a decent amount of protein. And I'm a meat eater.
Yeah.
I eat less meat than I used to, but I still eat my meat and I make protein shakes because I don't really feel like eating during the day,
Yeah.
but I need something. So, you know, you have to, and that makes me feel better. I get, you know, and when I drink a big glass of water, I feel like kind of energized after.
Yeah.
And so I used to drink more water than I drink now. So see, that's another thing that kind of falls off.
Comes
I'd
and
rather
goes.
have coffee because it makes me feel better.
Yeah.
And
To a point.
Right. to
Like
a
it's
point.
2 cups and then
Oh,
it's
man.
it's just, you know,
Burnt
right?
holes in a blanket.
Yeah.
The eyes. That's what my mom used to say. Your eyes, my eyes feel like 2 burnt holes in a blanket. And I'm like, that's a really good descriptive thing. Yeah. So just really eating balanced
Yeah.
and eating foods that are not void of nutrition.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sugar is a thing, but you know what? Sugar is not all bad. You can't cut everything out, but it's really hard to do. It's for me, a lot of times it's all or nothing.
Right.
And so I have to learn at 67,
Yeah.
I have to learn to moderate because all or nothing just works a little while and then it's gone.
Right.
Yeah.
It never works for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, tell you what, let's take another quick break. We'll come back. We'll have a couple more questions and maybe talk a little bit more about what you're doing here in the Dalles and that kind of thing.
Okay.
All right. Hey, Josh, did you know that we are funded by our readers in large part?
I did know that, but please tell me more.
Yeah, it's our local readers here that make it possible for us to go out and gather news on local businesses and important issues in our community. And so we need people to support local news. Did you know you can make a difference in our community's economy and culture by supporting local journalism? I bet you did. But maybe you out there don't. And so you should visit our Support Us page at CCCNews.com to subscribe to a monthly donation to keep news local and start making a difference in our community today. Again, that's CCCNews.com.
And remember, CCC News is available for everyone and funded by readers.
All right, and we're back with Colleen.
Yeah.
We were just having a great discussion about like abundance and scarcity and those kinds of things. But yeah, we'll just keep. We're talking about inner feelings, inner thoughts, and how they drive us, and how maybe we can change our behaviors, which is not an easy thing to do. I thought you had a very good point in talking about therapy and how someone who is assisting someone is offering things to helpfully kind of go through feelings and where they're coming from and that kind of thing. But yeah, I was noticing you had this nice little piece about fear and love, and maybe you could talk to us a little bit about that, because it seems like a good way to kind of view our thoughts in a kind of a sphere here. So can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. It's kind of a boiled down to the least common denominator of where feelings come from, right? Okay. So in cognitive behavioral therapy or theory, the feelings follow the thought.
Yeah.
And so when you think a thought about something happens, there's an activating event, you have a certain belief about that event.
Okay.
So it generates certain thoughts, and then you act in a certain way.
Right.
And, ultimately there are consequences for better or for worse. And so the idea of changing thoughts means that you'll change your feelings. And the brain sends that feeling of anxiety. That's its main thing. That's how you know you need to go get a drink, or that you must vacuum the floor, or that, those kinds of things, right? Because it can manifest in dozens of ways. Everything that you do to excess that isn't done for a reason, or that you can't stop, or that kind of thing, that's driven by a fear of something.
Right.
And so your brain is it's giving you anxiety. And maybe you're just afraid of changing.
Yes.
Or maybe you're afraid that if you don't do that thing, that something really, 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 really bad might happen. Those are the kind of obsessive compulsive things.
Yes.
So love and fear, and like I said, I don't have this all together,
right,
but I feel like it's really important to err on the side of love in your behavior, even sometimes, when you don't feel it. Because the more you do that, the more you will feel that way.
Yeah.
And when you get scared, then you can go, no, wait, what's that about? And you were talking about scarcity and abundance.
Yeah.
And the scarcity is we generally fear loss of significance.
Yes.
So our friends don't love us anymore, our spouse, our family.
We're letting people down.
Right. We're letting people down, that kind of thing.
Yep.
People don't see me. They don't understand me. I'm lonely. Now I'm paranoid. All of that. That's kind of the extreme. And then love is the opposite of that.
Yeah.
And the absence of fear is love, and not romantic love, although that could certainly be a piece. That's like a thought feeling thing.
Right.
You see someone and you think they're really attractive, and you think then you get to know them and you really like them, and then you feel love. It's romantic love, That's not what this is, although it can certainly be contained in that. It's what a Christian would call agape love, the kind of love that God would have for people. Okay, so whether or not you believe in God, there is this universal feeling of kindness and compassion and all of those things. And when you do things and say things and think things that are out of kindness and compassion and that kind of love, thinking about others, but also yourself.
Yeah. Right. No, right.
Because you have to take
you
care of
benefit
yourself.
from it. Yes.
If you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to help anybody else.
Yes.
And if that's what you're doing, then your mental health has a glitch in it.
Right.
And we all fall off one side or the other.
Yeah.
Life is a tightrope. Somebody said this one time, and I went, "Oh yeah, that's so true." And you're walking along, and you're always, kind of like off one side or the other. So you're holding onto the pole, that balance pole.
Yes.
And you're always sort of, because you're always off to one love. Yeah. And then you're like, and then you're like, no, wait. And, it's never straight on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's something like that's it. I love how you're describing that, because here's something at least from my own experience that I do when I'm in that kind of more of a fear side mode of things. Oftentimes I walk to work and I know that this thing's going on in my head, and I gotta kind of break that cycle. And so what I do is I just try to find somebody doing something, that maybe I don't know about, or that's interesting, or they're improving a house. It can be anything.
Yeah.
And I don't have a bar. I just need to talk to somebody who's engaging in something productive and interesting, and then I can chat with them, and what we do with the newspaper, sometimes it's a photograph or a quick, conversation. I ran into Elda Dorado, she was getting some desks from a bank to help out at migrant school. And I'm just like, that's so cool. Yeah. And all of a sudden, all that rumination and all those thoughts, and they just kind of went out the window. I had a billion plans in my head for that day. I got to get this done, this done, this done. And now I'm like kind of skipping back to work with this fun little story about somebody doing this cool thing 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
And it's like, but that's being kind of willing to be open and embrace something new
and stop.
I guess
just stop.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to tell myself that all the time. Is just stop. You don't have to hurry to go be here or do this or that or the other thing. Be on time for whatever appointments you have, of course.
Yeah.
But it really is. And it's the way that you could, okay, so we're going to have to probably wrap it up here pretty quick. So the way that you want to approach these thoughts, it's myriad. There's so many different ways that you can do it, but you can't just go, no, because then that's stuffing.
Doesn't work.
Just saying no is stuffing.
Yeah.
I often tell people to it comes up, you look at it and you go, oh yeah, I know. I know what you are. And yeah, that still bothers me. But you know what? I'm not going to let it bother me right now. And I just need you to go. Then you leave it alone. Then you move forward. And about 2 minutes later, you're doing it again.
Yeah.
It's over and over again until it's less and less and less. And it becomes that pathway through the meadow becomes beat down, and the other one grows up, the one that's least desirable, less desirable. So that's basically, and the way that you can, so the brain also responds to learning how to be calm. And so when you do things like meditate, even though it's only for 5 minutes, and that does not mean necessarily Eastern meditation, you use whatever floats your boat.
Right.
Whatever is your worldview, whatever you can think on those things. There's some great apps out there. Headspace is a really good one. And I mean, I don't have any investment in that, but they're an ongoing study of how meditation affects the brain. And you're sort of involved in that when you do it. It's not that expensive. And a lot of people use Calm. And some people just use background noise, or they look at a candle in front of them. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. There's a great book that this guy wrote years ago called The 3-Minute Meditator.
All right.
Last name is Harp. And I don't know if it's even in print anymore, but the guy was a maniac. And his friends all said, he's not pleasant to be around, but we love him. And so basically he searched the world over. And he talked to like Jack Korn and all these people that are, there's a gal that is very famous that I can't think of her name right now. And he discovered that it's just all about, if you want to count breaths and you do deep breathing and you learn how to do that, it's all over. You can look up therapeutic breathing or that kind of thing. And your brain learns to be calmer.
Yeah, I think I've been doing that. I did that one maybe last year. It was a counting. It's a breathing technique. It's a count. I think it's like a 8, a hold, and then a slow release.
Oh, okay. So you can do square breathing, which is really.
I think it's like an 8.
Well, it's actually 4, 4, 4.
Yeah.
4 times.
Okay.
So you breathe in, and you can kind of pretend like you're sucking through a straw. 4 counts, and then you hold it 4 counts. Breathe it out for 4 counts.
It was amazing. That really, because all that anxiety that I was feeling, it subsided.
Yeah.
It was like a physical, like a great technique to physically stop the anxiety, at least while you're breathing.
Yeah.
It might not, it might come back, but all of a sudden I had a tool to chill, to just, hey, I got, I'm going to do this for a minute and just chill, and you feel better. You just immediately feel better, which
you can do
that's
that.
a nice tool.
You can do that anytime, anywhere. You can go outside. I had a gal who called it barefoot walking in the grass stoned, and being stoned was way better than what she did. And she does not live in the Dalles, so nobody knows her, and nobody would know that.
Right.
So that's the thing. There are consequences for being a counselor in a small town. So so basically, it's like figuring out, like on her phone, this gal had a picture of a starry night because that was what gave her comfort. She had a difficult growing up. She and her siblings enjoyed the night sky in a private place where they could get away from the fray, basically.
So and all these things we're talking about are physical, because what we're doing is we're taking the things out of our head and having some kind of a physical change, or you have to actively kind of try and change where you're at in your head. And it kind of take, like Josh, we were talking about that. Josh is off scene over here, but we were talking about it this morning, and he said when you have a negative thought, he said one of his techniques was a quick tap on the face to say, no, that's not an accurate thought, and that's not validating who I am, and that's garbage, and I'm going to let that one go. I don't control it. I can't change that, and so I'm going to let that one go. And it sounded like it was pretty helpful for you. So, and
that's a great strategy. That's another version of, I see you over there. No, we're not gonna, we're not going there. You are not real.
Right.
And that's a very important.
Calling out the ghost.
Absolutely.
Right?
Because, and if you say it out loud, sometimes it just really helps.
It does.
And that is all part of that. And all of it, even the breathing, is when you count breaths. you leave out the judgment. If you lose your place, you just go, oh, shoot, I lost my place.
Yeah.
And you start at 1 again and you just keep going.
Right.
You know, or if you wanted to start at 10, kind of like when you get a new checking account, it used to be that you would always get like 2,000 for your first check number because, you didn't want anybody to think it was a brand new account number 1. Who does that?
I remember that, yeah.
I don't know that people do that anymore.
Oh, yeah, no, I did it recently.
So it really is about, just everybody struggles.
Yeah.
I struggle, you struggle.
Certainly.
The pastor of the church struggles. The congressman struggles. Everybody, even the people that you admire the most, struggle. And they have various different ways of dealing with it. And some of them are healthy and some of them are not.
Right.
And counseling can help you kind of get a handle on what it is that you need to kind of get a hold of.
Yeah.
And the counselor, sometimes people want you to tell them.
Yeah, and it could be myriad of things. It could be spending. It could be drinking. There's just all sorts of different things. But, I just quick add here, the older I get too, I do find that the more things that you carry in your head, and if you have good relationships with people and you need to develop those around you, it takes time.
Yeah.
Like Josh, we've known each other for what, 2 years now?
About
2 years. So we've developed a pretty good relationship, and I can rely on him. I can come in here because what I call it is a balloon of like nonsense that's in your head. And if you come in and talk to somebody about it, they're like, oh yeah, that's garbage. Or no, this is somewhat valid here, but let the rest go.
You normalize
He's great.
it.
He's great for that.
You normalize it and you take what you like, as they say in the 12-step program, take what you like and leave the rest.
Yeah.
And grant me the serenity.
Right.
That's there's no truer words. There are things that you just can't control, and you have to focus on the things about you that you can control. And when you're building, there's always a chance that relationship that you build, the person could turn out to be bogus after years and years and years, and then you're devastated.
Yeah.
But that's part of life.
Yeah.
And you learn how to deal with it, so you don't want to do the thing that seems to be getting more popular, and that is kill yourself.
Yeah.
A permanent solution to a temporary problem, not to make light of what people are thinking when they want to end their lives. As one gal told me, she said, don't ever let anybody tell you it's selfish, because you don't think that when you're in that moment.
No.
And so you really, that's another aspect of today. So today, in our cultural climate, we are all overdone. There's too much information. There's too many different sites to look at. We have to grab onto something and hold it, whatever it is, and then we have to hold it tight and that's why people are so, at odds these days, I think. And we have to be careful to not let untrue things into our heads and not consider them. We have to go look around and see what is most likely to be true and maintain our integrity and expect others to be that way. But when they're not, you let them go.
Right.
And you forgive. And that does not mean that you have to have a relationship with the person that you forgave.
Right.
This is sort of going off into other territory, but it all has to do with getting your head on straight, living in this world and doing it as best you can, which will always be off to one side or the other.
Yeah.
And you will always be cultivating one path while trying to let another one grow up.
Yep.
Every time you learn something new, go learn something new.
Right.
Yeah. And that helps, kind of stabilize everything, and just to know that everybody struggles. You are not weird because you struggle.
Nope.
Right?
No.
An extrovert.
You'd be weird if you didn't struggle.
Right? Exactly. If you don't struggle, there's something really wrong with that. Yeah. So you have to, that's where you have to land and extroverts have it a little bit easier, because we tend to be able to blah, 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 and people think we're true. Because we talk a lot. People who are introverted often keep things in, and like children, we make up stories about that stuff that we never check out with anybody. And so checking out what you think with other people that you trust is important.
That circle, what I call that key 5 people or 4 people or 3 people in your life, that you do have those strong relationships with, that you can, offer all your thoughts and feelings, and they can look at it with constructive criticism.
Or even just waiting.
Or just listening.
Just listening and waiting.
You know, that's a
You've
hard
given
thing to learn.
Yeah, you've barfed up your chicken soup. And they're kind of holding on to the bucket.
Okay.
My husband has had to learn how to not fix me. That's been really, I'm like, I
that's a
didn't
very
know what
important
you just did.
skill.
I'm crying here.
Yeah.
I don't cry very much, right? No, you don't. Okay, then I'm crying now. What? And he goes, okay. And he just holds me. And then,
Yeah.
you know, we need, and people get lonely. Get a dog. I have a dog too.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a dog and a husband. I'm with the dog more than the husband because
I don't think that's that unusual.
it's not. Dogs and cats are really good for mental health because you have to get up and do things. You know, yeah. So it is. We are all flawed.
Yeah.
We all have issues with our mental health. Most of them live in our heads, and if we just put them out on display a little bit and look at them and pick what we want to keep, and when the ones that we don't want to keep coming back, you just keep going. Just like Josh does.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's not valid. I've told myself that dozens of times. You're not valid. Go. Boop. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Go away.
Keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cognitive behavioral therapy.
Well, what wonderful advice. Thank you so much, Colleen. Colleen, is here at 409 Lincoln Street. She has offices here. And if you're interested in getting in touch with Colleen, maybe getting some assistance with some issues, she's available. And how would people get in touch with you?
I have an answering service.
Okay.
And so my business number goes right to a professional answering service. It's 541-993-2789. And they ask, where you heard about me. They will probably say that she's full right now, but can send referrals. Don't worry about that. It just depends on where you catch me.
Yeah.
And so I will either send you a list of referrals or call you back. If you say that you heard about it here, I'll make an extra effort, just like I do if a friend refers or a professional refers. They always get priority. But if you call and I'm not available and you get the referral list and you want to wait for me, you can do that. I just don't keep a wait list. Okay. And the more often you call, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Great.
Okay?
Yeah. Sounds great, Colleen. Tell us that phone number one more time.
541-993-2789.
Great.
Strong Tree Counseling.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming today. I think this has definitely been a beneficial conversation for me. So
fun.
Excellent. Have a great weekend, and thank you all for joining us today. Hey, Robin, I just did a story this morning about my daughter who's hiking the PCT.
That's special. I love that.
Yeah, and she's a 2019 grad of the Dallas High School, and she's doing this kind of awesome thing, and I'm so proud of her. But also at the same time, I really enjoy bringing local news to folks and bringing relevant information.
That's really evident from your work, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the internet is full of misinformation or poor quality information or AI produced information. And here we have something different at CCC News, right? We're local people generating local content with journalistic integrity and trying to build trust with our audience because that's what they deserve, right?
Right. And so how does that benefit our advertisers?
Well, being seen next to content that's really relevant, that's really trustworthy and really credible adds credibility to our advertisers because our viewers and readers see those advertisers next to that really honest, credible local information, and it really builds that brand into a basis of trust and really helps businesses reach people from that basis of trust.
Yeah, awesome. And boy, and to all those folks who are supporting us, it makes a huge difference in us being able to get this job done of keeping folks informed of what's happening in local government, entertainment, all sorts of venues throughout the gorge.
Yeah, we have really high integrity in our journalistic standards, and so you're always verifying all this information constantly with multiple sources of people. You know, we don't try not to do one source stories here, or just take a piece of information from the government and run with it. You know, we really try and drill down and get to the meat and potatoes of what's there.
That's the joy. Yeah.
That's great. Well, if you want to keep reading, go to CCCnews.com. And if you want to support us, look for our Support Us tab there. And really grateful for any support that people can make. Yeah. The more support we get from our local audience, the less we have to rely on advertisers and the more journalistic freedom we get.
Yeah, absolutely. And those interested in advertising can always reach out to me at tom@cccnews.com. or call me at 541-980-2756.
Great. Thanks, Tom.
You bet.